Good afternoon and welcome to Midday Moms. This is Dorothy Pilarski, welcoming each and every one of you signing on. As you sign on, I would ask that you say hello to us in the chat box. If you're Alice from Alabama, say, hi, I'm Alice from Alabama. If you're Maria from Mississauga, let us know where you're from. Let us know how many children you have. Let us know if this is the first time you've attended or the 51st time you've attended. We love hearing from you. And so many of you have met me before at the Dynamic Women of Faith conference, or maybe you've read, a column of mine in the Catholic Register. I also wanted to extend a big, warm welcome to Allan Smith. Allan, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me. I enjoy these, I want to say informal gatherings where we just get together and we chat. And I know today we'll have a great conversation. So thanks for having me.
Yes, it's really great to have you here. Allan, for those, moms maybe that, don't know you because, in the Toronto region, everybody knows you, the Cambridge region, Midland, everyone knows you. But maybe for some of us that are joining us for the first time, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
All right. Well, let's just say I'm a happily married man of 36 years, and I have a lovely wife named Isabel, and we have 3 adult children. And the Lord has blessed me with 5 grandchildren. So, again, I live in Midland, Ontario, Canada, which is, again, a sleepy little village north of Toronto. And I'm blessed that I live close to a national shrine. So, the faith is celebrated on a daily basis here where I live. And I just come from humble beginnings. I'm one of 12 children. And so I came from a small Catholic family.
A
And
small Catholic family, like
yeah,
the
yeah,
apostles, really small.
yeah,
Wow, my
yeah.
goodness, that's exciting.
Yeah. Well, and I think this is what I say. I say small because, we had 12 children in our family, and but yet the neighbor had 14 and the other neighbor had 16. So we didn't have bragging rights. We weren't the largest Catholic family. We were, I like to say, a mid-sized family, but still, that growing up with 11 brothers and sisters really formed me. And so I'm a blessed man. And so, again, just I grew up in Pickering, Ontario, and can live by the water. So our parents had us outside all the time, either on rowboats, sailboats, or something. So I'm a nature lover, and my parents also encouraged us to go to daily mass, and so I picked up that holy habit at a very young age of going to mass every day before school, and so it's kind of stuck. So again, I'm grateful to my parents for giving me what I call a great environment to hone my craft, to sing for my supper in a way. So again, there's lots in the middle, but again, we're here to talk about the writings of the Venerable Sheen today, and not so much about me. And I know at the time of this recording, where it is the feast of, I think, St. John the
St.
Baptist
John
and
the
his birth.
Baptist, yeah.
And his great words, may the Lord increase and may I decrease. And so I want to talk about the Lord today. So,
Yeah,
and maybe,
no, well, thank you. And as we're, as we're sort of just, I want to welcome a couple of people in the chat. So Rishma from Kitchener, hello, great to meet you, Rishma. Rema Chelio is one of our Mothers Group leaders from St. Benedict's. Welcome, Rema. Roseanne Lista from Our Lady of Peace Catholic Moms Group. Great to have you here. Carmela from Maple. Dora. Wonderful. Claude from, I know you're from Maple as well. Yes, happy Feast of St. Yes. So good afternoon from St. David's Parish. Kristina Zosowski is our Mothers Group leader at All Saints Parish in Etobicoke. She's in her 6th year of hosting a Catholic Moms Group there. So as is actually Rema. So it's really, really, really wonderful to have all of you here. And so why are we here? We're here, our ministry is here. And so for those of you maybe that aren't, in the chat and you're sort of maybe joining us for the first time, our ministry can be found online. I always say it's really simple. It's 3 words, CatholicMomsGroup.com. And we encourage you to visit our website, CatholicMomsGroup.com. And we are faith partners with the Archdiocese of Toronto, and we're on a mission to revive the vocation of motherhood. And we do so primarily by helping parishes start Catholic moms groups. I think last week I mentioned that we've shipped a mother's group starter kit to St. Nicholas Parish in North Pole, Alaska. And we're just getting prepared to ship another kit to St. Peter of the Chains in the Diocese of Peterborough. And we're hoping that somebody here will be inspired to start a Catholic moms group. We have a very deep conviction that when mothers gather to pray for their children, to learn about their Catholic faith, that it's not only revitalizing, not only empowering, but we believe that the prayers of a mother have a ripple effect on, the entire family and the entire world. And so I'm going to just play a very short video about our ministry. Some of you have seen it many times and some of you have never seen it. Yeah, we hope that it touches you. We hope that it inspires you. And we hope that based on it, someone will say, hey, I'm starting a Catholic moms group.
Mothers, by our very nature, we are nurturing, loving caregivers. We are social beings, made for friendship and community. We are also spiritual by nature, made by a loving God to know Him and love Him, and to pass this love of our Catholic faith on to our children. But right now, many mothers feel overextended, distracted, and exhausted. Though as Catholics, we have the community of our church, many mothers attending Mass could not name the moms sitting next to them in the pew they share. Community and support among Catholic mothers is desperately needed in this hectic and chaotic culture. Your parish needs you to bring these moms together.
Hi, my name is Dorothy Pilarski. I'm the founder of Catholic Moms Group. We at Catholic Moms Group are on a mission to revive the vocation of motherhood. We exist to bring together like-minded, faith-filled mothers who crave community and are focused on spiritual growth, Catholic teaching, and fellowship. Can you imagine a thriving, engaged mothers group at your parish? A group of moms in love with their Catholic faith, ready to serve other mothers no matter what stage of motherhood they're at. Can you imagine what a difference that would make at your parish? Starting a mothers group, it's not rocket science, but working with a team who's done it before and who's done it dozens and dozens of times sure does help. The Catholic Moms Group membership site is an online community that offers training, resources, and dozens of tools for parishes to help them start a mothers group quickly and efficiently. We're here to provide you with a clear path to launching a Catholic Moms Group at your parish. All of our materials are 100% Catholic. We have clearly laid out meetup plans for both moms groups and toddler groups. We are obedient to the magisterium of the Catholic Church. We have created dozens of tools that are going to save you time and energy. And besides that, we love our Blessed Mother. We constantly turn to her for her intercession. You can make a huge impact in your parish, so join us. We are revolutionizing the way parishes start mothers groups by providing parishes with a Catholic mothers group starter kit. and by nourishing and training a community of Catholic Mothers Group leaders across the world. It's time to start a Mothers Group at your parish. Join us today. Oh, sorry. Okay, stop share. And so it's funny, just before we went on, Allan and I were chatting about the relics I have in the background. And one of the saints that our ministry is consecrated to is Saint Gemma Galgani, because, you know, talking to moms about motherhood being a vocation and not just a series of tasks has really not been something easy, because I get accused of so many things. And so I just wanted to thank St. Gemma Galgani publicly. And for those of you that don't know about St. Gemma, I always say she's our superpower. There's no way our ministry would still exist without St. Gemma Galgani's intercession. Anyway, I love her to pieces. Allan, I'm just so happy to have you here. I've been meaning to do this for so long. I just wanted to officially introduce Allan. Allan and I have known each other for quite a long time. I've hosted Dynamic Women of Faith Conference now for 12 years, and I think I've known him since before that. So we go a little bit, not way back, but way back. And so Allan is a husband, father, grandfather, a man of trade, and a business owner. He has served the church for 15 years as a Catholic evangelist, radio host, writer, internet broadcaster, and retreat director. He's a gifted speaker, giving presentations at seminaries, schools, parishes, and Catholic conferences. He's often featured on Catholic media such as EWTN Radio and television, Radio Maria, the Catholic Channel, Relevant Radio, and Shalom TV. He is the founder and director of the Archbishop Fulton Sheen Mission Society of Canada, and has served on the board of directors of the Archbishop Fulton Sheen Foundation in Peoria, Illinois, which promotes the cause of Fulton Sheen's canonization process. Al is the creator of the website Bishop Sheen Today, which features the life and works of the Venerable Archbishop Fulton Sheen. A big, big, warm welcome, Allan. Your dedication, your hard work, your globe-trotting, and your prolific publication of books through the pandemic are so inspiring. So, just a big, big, warm welcome. All of you at home, can you give Allan a big warm round of applause? It's great to have you here. Allan, can you tell us a little bit about how your sort of love of Bishop Sheen began, for those of us maybe that don't know?
Right. I like to say to people, it was a God incident when I met Bishop Sheen through one of his books only a few years ago. Again, it was the year 2009. And, at the time I was 48 years old. And so maybe I'm giving away my age today. But so in 2009, my good wife and I were dropping our daughter off to a very small Catholic college called Our Lady's Seat of Wisdom College in Barry's Bay, Ontario. And so as I was getting my daughter safely off to her dorm, I was kind of, the protective dad, making sure everything was in order. My good wife was in the library of the school, and the librarian was discarding a number of old, tattered books. And so she was offering them for free. And so every good mother, sees free books, of course, are attracted to that great offer. And so my good wife picked up a couple books, and she picked up a book from Bishop Sheen called Peace of Soul. In fact, I actually keep this as a sentimental copy. This was the actual book that my wife picked up, and it retailed for 35 cents at the time. And he penned this in 1949. And so my wife started to read this book to me on the way home as we drove back. It was a 5-hour drive. And I'll never forget the first lines of this book. It was simply, unless souls are saved, nothing is saved. And so when I heard Fulton Sheen's, I want to call it a battle cry, unless souls are saved, nothing is saved, I thought, this priest, this bishop is speaking my language. It's all about saving souls. And so he got my attention. And when I came home, I said to my wife, I said, I'd like to read that book if I could. And she said, no, 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 no. You have to get your own Bishop Sheen book. I'm really enjoying this. And so I found a book that Fulton Sheen wrote back in 1939 called Victory Over Vice. And I thought it would be a great idea to do a meditation during Lent to kind of look at the 7 deadly sins and know that the antidote for the 7 deadly sins was found in the 7 last words. And so that book, Victory Over Vice, really got me just wanting more. And before you know it, I think within a year's time, I had read 24 Bishop Sheen books. And so I just had this a very good appetite for his writings because he was speaking to me. It was like I found a new parish priest that got me, that understood me. And I think we all know what it's like to have a good parish priest in our lives, and someone who just counsels you, who kind of journeys with you. And that's what I found that what Fulton Sheen did for me is that he took me aside and said, I know you're a difficult project, but I'll take you on. And so remember, I have hundreds of thousands of souls to my record. So we'll work on your soul too. And so he's been a great life coach for me. And this, just falling in love with his writings, I thought, boy, I need to share this with the world if I can. And, I've been on the radio for a number of years in a small community radio station. Back in 2006, I started to host a weekly Rosary show. And that show's still on the air today. Every Sunday morning at 9 o'clock, we go to the air and we share the Rosary, Chaplet of Mercy, Lives of the Saints. And
If someone wanted to join you for that rosary, what station is that? Where
yeah,
is
so it's FM 98.5 CKWR. And so, of course, they have their own website, and many people listen to radio stations live and through their internet feed. And so they can tune into ckwr.com and pray with us live every Sunday morning at 9. Or you could pray with us through what I call the I want to say the tape delayed version when we posted to iTunes, Podbean, and all the social media feeds. And so, again, people enjoy having an hour of prayer and meditation. So that little show is what I think put me on the map. People know my voice. It's amazing when people meet me for the first time. They've heard my voice for 15 years, but they finally meet me. It's kind of a neat experience. But I went to the radio station that I was doing the Holy Rosary show with, and I said, I have this idea about sharing Bishop Sheen on the radio. And I was able to secure over 400 of his audio recordings. And I said to the owner of the station, or the manager at the time, I want to do a Bishop Sheen hour. Would you give me permission? And they granted me that permission. And so I went to the radio station on a Monday evening at 7:30, and I started to play Bishop Sheen's recordings. And it was so amazing how the phone lines lit up. I would sit in the radio station and people were calling in saying, oh, is Bishop Sheen coming back to the area to preach? I love his voice. I love what he's saying. And I thought, he died in 1979. I mean, he's, um, but yet I could tell he was touching the hearts of Catholics and Protestants alike. And boy, and of course, I'm on a secular station. FM 98.5 CKWR is a public radio station. It's not a Catholic radio station. As you know, Dorothy, in Canada, we don't really have Catholic radio like in the United States. And so we actually raise money to buy airtime so that we can host the Holy Rosary Show and the Bishop Sheen Hour. And so it is a labor of love, but I tell you, we are touching the lives of many non-Catholics by these 2 one-hour programs that we feature on a secular station. And after doing that, it was 2012 that I started the radio show. Within a month, I had 3 other radio stations approach me and say, could you do that show as a syndicated show? And so we started to share that show to other radio stations. And we're still on the air today with those shows. And many people listen to my show on Radio Maria Canada. And so it's nice to be part of the Radio Maria family. So, again, this zeal to share Bishop Sheen with a whole new generations of, listeners, readers. And, I thought, wow, how can I plug in? How can I do this? And so I'm a bit tech savvy. So we developed a website called bishopsheentoday.com. It's like how you said at the beginning of your program, just 3 words, CatholicMomsGroup.com, right? Well, my 3 words are
Yeah.
bishopsheentoday.com, right? Because we need Bishop Sheen today. And, I was able to gather 100 of his YouTube videos and put them all into one site. These 400 audio recordings, put them on the site. All his free downloadable books that are in a lot of digital libraries, I grab them, put them on the website. And so people can visit bishopsheentoday.com and literally spend hours and hours just watching videos, listening to talks, reading downloadable books, all for free. Like I'm thrifty. I like to say I'm thrifty. So I love free. So again, this is just what I wanted. I wanted the world to experience Fulton Sheen. He was very instrumental in my father's conversion. And that's another story. But my dad is a convert to the faith because of Fulton Sheen. And so in gratitude to God and to Fulton Sheen for converting my father, I think this is a great way for me to give back to the world by doing this. But it was that little book back in 2009, Piece of Soul, that got me on fire to start sharing Bishop Sheen. And the next thing you know, the good Lord has me crossing the country, speaking to seminarians, various Catholic conferences, and of course, people then follow my journey. I'm always on EWTN radio talking about one of my books or making the odd appearance down in Alabama whenever they're featuring some of Bishop Sheen's writings or some of his anniversary dates. So again, the Lord is using me, and you would never expect it because people who know me know I'm called the gas man, and I'm called the gas man because I call it the village plumber, and that for over 30 years I've been a licensed pipe fitter, and so I fix pipes for a living. And so some people call me the pipe padre because I do, this religious programming. But the Lord, used tent makers, he used tax collectors, he used fishermen, and now he's using a pipe fitter from Canada to share the wisdom of the Venerable Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen with the whole world. So, it was a long, I took the long journey there, but I think you get it. It's a little God incident that just blossomed into something very beautiful. So.
Fantastic. So for those of you that have joined us today, again, welcome. It's Dorothy Pilarski from CatholicMomsGroup.com with Allan Smith. If you have any stories at all about Bishop Sheen, or if you would like to say hello to Allan in the chat, please make sure that, we love hearing from you in the chat box. It revitalizes us to know that someone is actually listening. I'm so used to being in a mother's group setting where there's, mothers around me. So please do, chat with us in the chat box. So Allan, we're here to kind of zero in or focus in on some of Bishop Sheen's thoughts on, marriage, about some of his thoughts on motherhood. I know that you've got this vast, vast library, but can you sort of give us a few highlights of Bishop Sheen's teachings on motherhood? Or
Right. Yeah. And I think what, sometimes I get a little stumped because, he wrote 66 books. And I do get a lot of phone calls from people saying, oh, this Bishop Sheen quote, what book was it from? And, oh, in 1947, that article on communism, can you quote that for me? And, but I think what I try to do is say, yeah, I've read most of his writings. But let me give you some of the Coles notes. And that's what I think I can do today. And but I'd like to start off with what I call Bishop Sheen's inspirations, of course, being his mother, his grandmother, and of course, the Blessed Mother. And so those three mothers had a profound impact on his life. And he shares this all the time. And so that's what I love. And, I think of Fulton Sheen's mother. Delia was her name. She did one kind act that I think changed the world. And when Fulton Sheen was baptized, the parents brought Fulton Sheen to the church, a little church in El Paso, Illinois, St. Mary's, and they baptized Fulton. His name was Peter John Sheen. When he was born, people always say Fulton, but his name is Peter John Sheen. And so when on the day of his baptism, his mother then took this little baby and placed this baby on the side altar that was dedicated to Our Lady. And she dedicated her son to the care of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And I say to parents all the time, do the same thing to your children. Consecrate them to the Sacred Heart of Jesus, the Immaculate Heart of Mary. You are going to do your child a great favor, a great favor. And it was this kind act that the mother did for her son, just consecrating her son to the care of the Blessed Virgin Mary, that paid major dividends. And of course, Fulton Sheen then developed a great love for the Blessed Virgin Mary his whole life. He says in his autobiography, Treasures of Clay, how he just made these little dedications to the Blessed Virgin Mary, especially on his first Holy Communion. It was kind of like a reconsecration. And then, of course, he dedicated his priesthood to the Blessed Virgin Mary. In fact, when he was ordained, he made a vow to say Holy Mass every Saturday in honor of the Blessed Virgin Mary to protect his priesthood. And so, again, his favorite book that he wrote, and they interviewed him and said, you've penned 66 books. Which one is your favorite? And he says, my favorite book is The World's First Love. And it is a book that he writes about the Blessed Virgin Mary. And I think I've got a copy here. Yeah, so I'll hold it up on the screen so everyone can see it. And again, it's The World's First Love. Again, a beautiful book that is so rich. I mean, we'd have to do a 2-hour program just on this book alone. But still, he wanted to point to the world's first love. And I think what Fulton Sheen did about motherhood, and I say, when he was talking about the Blessed Virgin Mary as the model for all mothers, he talked about how, God created her even before she was born. A lot of times you think about, Catholics seem to be, accused of paying a little bit too much time with the Blessed Virgin Mary, or give her too much attention, too much focus. But, Fulton Sheen was quick to remind us to say, did you ever pre-exist your mother? If you could make your own mother, Al Smith, Dorothy Pilarski, how would you make your mother? And, I would say, well, I'd make my mother so she would be more generous on the cookies. She was, it was kind of, my mom with 12 children, of course, had to meter out the snacks. But if I could create my mother, I would make her a certain way. But, we asked the question, do you believe that, Jesus is, the second person of the Blessed Trinity? Do you believe that he's God? And, if you do believe that, then just think that, they created the heavens and the earth, that he actually got to create his own mother. And I think it's a bit of a stumper for a lot of people. And they go, you're right. He did create her. And so she must be the most beautiful, the most precious of all mothers. And I tell you, that's what Fulton Sheen does. Whenever you read his books, you have to sometimes put them down and breathe and breathe. And again, this is just what I found. And then again, we're only getting into one or two quotes so far. We'll share a bit more there. But Dorothy, is there anything that, what I find is everyone has a Sheen story, and they all talk about Sheen's love for the Blessed Mother, but some people have an actual personal story, and I've heard you must have your own, and many of the viewers probably have added to the chat of some of those reflections that Fulton Sheen gave that touched their lives.
Well, in my own case, it was just sort of picking up a variety of books of, Fulton Sheen. One of them, Remade for Happiness, really had an impact on me. And then 3 to Get Married. And there was a section in 3 to Get Married that was and is specifically on motherhood. And I remember when I first became a mom, I was reading all the different, magazines and publications and attending different courses. And I had felt that something had happened to me with the birth of my first child. And no matter what I read, no matter what no one seemed to be able to sort of connect with what happened to me. Even I went to, a dozen or so different mothers groups, and some of them were even Catholic moms groups, but I still felt like I wasn't understood. And then the first quote that struck me, where I thought, okay, this guy is on to something, was Cardinal Mitzenthi. There's a beautiful quote on motherhood that's in all of our publications, how a mom is a co-creator with God. But then the very next piece that kind of touched me deeply and profoundly was, of course, Bishop Sheen's writing on motherhood. And it's just a few pages, but it was sort of like, it made it very clear to me that, yes, not only have I given birth to a human being, a child, but I've also given birth to a soul, And so not only do I have duties to the body of that child in terms of feeding it and nurturing it, but I also have, duties to the soul of that child. And so it was a very powerful experience finding in writing something that happened to me interiorly that wasn't named beforehand. So first it was, Cardinal Mitzenthi's quote. He's a Hungarian cardinal. And I ended up getting his book called The Mother. And then the second book, of course, is 3 to Get Married, and the section on motherhood in that book. Now, I know that you've recently published that book. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So I have created 5 anthologies. People always say, what is an anthology? And an anthology is a collection of writings. And so, sitting at home just saying, how can I best serve the church? I came up with the idea of, let's bring together some of his best of series, greatest hits, some people may say. But his writings on the cross and the 7 last words, very, I want to say prolific, in that for 58 consecutive years, he preached the Good Friday address and wrote a great deal about the 7 last words on different themes. And so I put together 7 of those books on the 7 last words into an anthology. And of course, we titled it The Cries of Jesus from the Cross. And it's been well received for many years now. The second group of writings that I put together were his writings on prayer, because I knew that there's the power of the cross, but there's also the power of prayer. And so I took Sheen's writings on the Our Father, the Mass, the Holy Hour, different meditations that I found that he loved to recommend. And so that was my second anthology. But the third anthology I wrote was on the sacraments, because I knew, again, there's the power of the cross, the power of prayer, and the power of the sacraments. And Sheen's two most powerful books on the sacraments are his 1951 book, Three to Get Married, and we'll spend a little bit of time sharing some of that today, and also his 1962 book, These Are the Sacraments. And I thought, boy, every home should have Sheen's writings on marriage and the sacraments, because that's usually the path we journey on. Is we get married, and then of course we want to live the sacramental life and pass the sacramental life on to our children, and hopefully they'll get married and pass the sacramental life on to their children. And again, a lot of us sometimes just need a roadmap of what is marriage and what is the sacraments. And I think the world was waiting for a refresher course. And I thought these books have not been seen for many years, or never been put together in a collection. And so I was inspired to put the two books together, and it's being released this July. So in a few weeks, you'll be able to enjoy Three to Get Married and These Are the Sacraments in one book. And it's called Archbishop Sheen's Book of Sacraments. And so you'll enjoy it. And I know I've seen it already on Amazon. Many people have pre-ordered the book through Sophia Institute Press. And so, again, I just have these inspirations to say, you know, Sheen, of these 66 books, he definitely had some themes that I think need to be shared with the world. So in July, we will get to enjoy Sheen once again, this book on the sacraments. And then at Christmas time, you'll get my fourth anthology, which is Sheen's writings on love. And so it's called Love One Another. So, and the fifth anthology we'll leave for another broadcast. We'll do, we'll do on that one. But
Just quote,
yeah,
I want to just quote, if I could,
yes,
Sheen. As Mary had something that was her own, namely her divine child, and something that was not her own, namely Emmanuel, God with us, or our Savior. So every mother has something that is uniquely her own, and yet something that is not her own, you know? I encourage you all to get Allan's book just for these 3 or 4 pages on motherhood. Like, there's so much there to meditate on. You know, about women today. It's just, it's almost intoxicatingly beautiful.
yeah, yeah. And I think, you know, you mentioned earlier, it's this mystery of you're carrying not only a physical body in your womb, but also a soul. And I think Fulton Sheen, he really brought this to our attention to say, you know, the beauty of motherhood is that they carry not just the child, but the soul. And again, they tied in almost to the mystery of the sacraments, almost like the Eucharist. It's like you feed the child, you know, and so you feed the child physically by what you eat, but you also feed the child spiritually, you know, in the womb and outside of the womb. And so he brings to our attention the importance that we have a soul, and even the child in utero has a soul. And, you know, there's a similar quote that you just gave that Sheen talks about how, you know, as a father, we see the joys of motherhood. Like, it's just like, I'm now in awe. Like, when I started to read that, like, when my wife was with child, I'd start to go, like, I am just in awe of what's happening here. That my wife is carrying not only just a child, but a soul of a child. And I'm not like, I don't want to say I'm jealous, but you know, it's like, I just feel so inadequate. Right. And, but again, it's the beauty of seeing the mystery of motherhood, the mystery of motherhood. And I think this is why I think now, you know, sadly, motherhood is kind of sometimes labeled as a second rate vocation, or you don't want to do that, do you? Like, as people are thinking, but yet Fulton Sheen just says, no, you want to do this. And, he even wrote, he said that sadly, 80 was like 83% of divorces happen because there's no children. Like they do all these studies, and we know the divorce rate is high as it is, but it's even higher in couples that didn't have children, and because they never experienced, I believe, that beauty of having the child and the soul of the child within the mother's womb. So again, deep, but very sobering. I think he gets our attention. He really does.
Yeah, there's something here he says too, which is so, again, a woman primarily is not a restorer of ruins. She is first a cooperator with the divine. And, I wish I could, scream from the rooftops, like that, and that's almost like the entire purpose of our ministry is to remind women to cooperate with the divine. We've become so secularized in our womanhood that we forget cooperation with the divine.
Right. Yeah. I know that, and I have to, put the readers on here. Like, people always say, well, can you show me your notes? Well, just the highlighting that you do, like, I just printed up those 3 or 4 pages on motherhood, and I started just highlighting everything because it just speaks volumes. It really does. And, as I've said to so many people, is that it's going to take you a while to get through these books, because you have to just keep putting them down. You can just read a paragraph, and then it will carry you all day. It will carry you all day. But there's so much in these 5 pages, just in this one chapter on motherhood. And I know Fulton Sheen also wrote a great deal about motherhood in the home and making the home. And I know that this is what's very key to your ministry, is that you really empower the mothers to make the home a very special place. And Fulton Sheen, in the book 3 to Get Married, spent a whole chapter on motherhood and making the home. So that is going to be something else that I think you'll really enjoy in 3 to Get Married. So again, thank you for telling the audience that this book is coming. And you can still pick up a copy of 3 to Get Married by itself. But as I said, we're all thrifty. And so instead of buying 2 books, you can get 1 book at a great price. So it's all good. It's all good. I didn't know if there was any comments in the chat room. And again, it's one of these things. I know sometimes people get a little spellbound. They hear this conversation, and they're just enjoying it. But every so often, people do have a question or a comment of how Fulton Sheen has touched their own life as a mother. And again, I try to say to people that, even though there's a great deal in 3 to Get Married on motherhood, the book I mentioned earlier, The World's First Love, is a great resource. But I love the book, The 7 Words of Jesus and Mary. It was a book he penned in 1945, and it really speaks to the Blessed Virgin Mary's love of Jesus. And I think what she is saying to all of us: follow me, imitate me. I know at the wedding feast of Cana, she had those beautiful words when she said, do whatever he tells you. But the Blessed Mother is that beautiful example who will show us to say, watch me and imitate me, and you'll be okay. You'll be okay. And so I highly recommend the book, The 7 Words of Jesus and Mary. And you can't go wrong with that one. It's I don't think we ponder enough how the Blessed Virgin Mary was so united to Jesus, and united to his ministry, especially in all things. But, she suffered so dearly watching her son be crucified and die on a cross. And I think for mothers who suffer, they get it. They get it. She epitomizes what unjust suffering is, the suffering of the innocent. And so there is a great deal of strength that can be garnered from just meditating on the life of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And I know, Dorothy, you've experienced a little bit of suffering, as all mothers do, but of course you've drawn great consolation from the Blessed Virgin Mary.
And well, and I forget what year it was, but there was a talk I gave at one of the Dynamic Women of Faith conference, and I tried to stress that one of the sort of duties of a Catholic mom is to suffer with her child, right? Like so often we make the mistake of, trying to eliminate the suffering. Well, okay, if your child has broken their arm, you can't eliminate all of the suffering, but to be there with the child as the child is suffering. And we have forgotten that, like we're in, a culture that is, that tells us that, yes, it's our role of a mother to provide, to educate, to train. But do we hear we need to suffer with our children and be there with them as they're suffering? There's another beautiful thought here from that section on motherhood. And so I'm quoting Bishop Sheen here, and listen to this, it's just so beautiful. Good and holy thoughts in the mother while bearing the child will affect the child, as fears and shock will affect it in the opposite way. The psychological effects of love on others are tremendous. The mother who bears her child in love and who is conscious that she is fulfilling a divine command and a holy messiahship must see verified in her life the words of our Lord. And, we forget as a culture that the state of expectancy, the state of, pregnancy, it's a sacred time, and it always kind of breaks my heart when I kind of see women like plowing through pregnancy almost like on they're on a workaholic secular schedule, forgetting to constantly be united with the soul that is within them and to love them through that time, right? And it's because our culture is putting so many crazy demands on women in this day and age. It's almost like we don't allow ourselves to have a grieving period when someone dies. We don't allow ourselves to have a sacred period when we're expecting. And, Cardinal Collins once said it too in a homily that right now humanity has convinced itself that it must do everything for itself. And what a tremendous pressure that is when you don't have any conviction that, our Blessed Mother will intercede, that saints will intercede, that God will intercede. We've convinced ourselves that the entire the entire burden of life is on our shoulders, and we've forgotten to believe in the supernatural. And I'm just going to beg your patience with one more quote here by Fulton Sheen from this book. The gospel tells us that there are 4 kinds of mothers. There were grains that fell beside the path, and so all the birds came and ate them up. And others fell on rocky road where the soil was shallow. They sprang up all at once because they had not sunken deep in the ground. But as soon as the sun rose, they were parched. They had not taken root, and so they withered away. And some fell on briers, so that briers grew up and smothered them. But others fell where the soil was good, and these yielded a harvest, some 100-fold, 60-fold, and 30-fold. Listen to you that have ears to hear with. As the bearer of the seed, she throws herself completely on God, saying with Mary, "Behold the handmaid of the Lord." Anyway, I could go on and on and on. There's just so much, and then he's talking here about the great spiritual laws of motherhood. And so, Bishop Sheen helped me realize that what was going on interiorly, that I wasn't going crazy, right? Like women don't acknowledge that once they have had and given birth to a child, or once they have lost a child, that it's a profound spiritual experience as well.
And I think it was important, you brought it up about spending that time to nurture the child, giving that child the environment that that child is loved. And it's almost like you're growing something, but again, putting good things in. And to add to this mystery that the child in the womb has a soul, but also the child has a guardian angel. So not only do you,
Yeah, that's right. Whoa.
you know, yeah, so just think about that for a little bit, that there's the child's soul, and the child's guardian angel. So mothers, I tell you, there's room there, but you're entertaining angels and of course the soul. So again, I think if you just go deep, it's amazing. You just embrace this and say, I want to do this. This is God's holy will. And so we encourage every mother to just start to see the mystery. And Fulton Sheen, this is what he did. And this book, 1951, it was written in 1951, 3 to Get Married. And my mother, shared with me, she says, your dad and me read this book together when we were engaged, and it really helped us a great deal. And so, because I think Sheen gets it right, he gives couples a roadmap and explains to them this is the best way to do it. And it's been a go-to book. It really has been a go-to book and enjoyed for many generations. And so, again, it's going to be a real blessing to re-release this in a few weeks' time.
Now, Alan, I did promise, the moms that signed on today that there might be a possibility of, winning one or two
Oh,
different
yes.
books, right?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
what I'm going to suggest I always make people do homework. So
Good. Good.
if you'd like to be considered for a draw for possibly winning one or two of Alan's books, what I'm going to suggest is that you write to us at info@catholicmomsgroup.com and tell us how today's session of Midday Moms, how this reflection has affected you, and how our ministry has affected you, or how Bishop Sheen has affected you. I can't tell you how rewarding it is to receive an email from you, because Alan and I are only human. We need encouragement. I don't know about you, Alan, but so often after I host either Midday Moms or after a conference, you're thinking, did it touch anyone? Has anyone been affected in any particular way? And so when we get an email from you, and then I pass it on, I'll email it to Alan. It encourages us. It encourages us. So I would ask you that if you're interested in winning a book, that you send us an email. Then everyone that sends us an email, I will take that email, I'll fold it up, and I'll put it in a hat, and then I'll pull out two, and then I'll say, Alan, we have two winners, and then we'll mail you a book. Does that sound fair, Alan?
That sounds great. And we'll put some holy cards in there and other great things too. But I have 15 books that I have to my record. So there's 12 books that we did during the COVID lockdown. I got busy during this stay-at-home order. So when mom said stay at home, I just got busy. And so there's 12 books that people have seen, on the, Amazon. You'll Google me and find me on Amazon. You'll see the 12 titles that I've put together. And there's, of course, the 3 books from Sophia Institute Press. And so it's nice to have, I like to say 15 children, if you want to call their books your children. But, they came in bunches. But we'll give away, of course, some books. It's a labor of love. We love doing this. And, I've been gifting books to seminarians for many years. So it's a muscle that I've practiced, the art of giving away books. So the Lord provides. provides. But I have a real heart for seminarians. I know you had Father Greg Merkley on the show a couple times, and I remember him when he was in the first year of his seminary training in the propedeutic year. Of course, we got to we journeyed with Father Greg Merkley and many of the seminarians across Canada. So my mindset is that to make a new generation of priests that are similar to Bishop Sheen, we have to give seminarians Bishop Sheen books and hopefully touch their hearts and their minds. So I have a heart for seminarians. And so again, looking forward to helping the mothers and those who have tuned in to this ministry. Again, one of the books I penned is called The Cross and the Crib. And it's when Calvary becomes the nursery. And at the foot of the cross, we became children of Mary. When our Lord said, "Woman, behold your son," and to the apostle he loved, "Behold your mother," it was at that moment we became children of Mary. We were spiritually adopted. And so Calvary becomes the nursery. And again, my love for the Blessed Virgin Mary increased a great deal because of Sheen's writings on her. So it's one of my favorite books to put together, but still it'll touch the hearts, not just of men, but also women and hopefully children and young people too. I mean, hopefully, because people ask me all the time, do you have any good books for young people or for my husband or for whatever? And again, Fulton Sheen wrote 66. So there's lots to choose from.
Yeah, and one of the moms here at Carmela, she says, I love Bishop Sheen. When my son was a teenager, he liked to watch Bishop Sheen on EWTN. And one thing that I say over and over and over again is that as Catholic moms, we grossly underestimate the ability of young children to understand supernatural truths. And so, when I see a mom, at Mass giving her child, I don't know, The Wizard of Oz or some crazy book, I'm like, there's such an opportunity there at Mass to give your children holy books. I remember just prior to receiving my first Holy Communion, there was one particular priest, Father Rozmuswowski, that every time he preached a homily, I was sitting at the edge of my seat and I was full of tears because his homilies were so beautiful. And so here I was just before my Holy Communion, gripped by very deep and theological homilies. And so I sometimes think that as mothers, we give our children spiritual junk food instead of real food. And so don't be afraid during even the pandemic to find Bishop Sheen and say to your children, hey, let's just watch this guy for 5 or 10 minutes and let's see if he's got anything good to say. And you'll see in your children's faces that some of them will be actually drawn and ask you for a second video of Bishop Sheen's. I remember one habit that I had when my children were very, very little is if I was reading a particular book, let's pretend the Introduction to the Devout Life by St. Francis de Sales. Okay, my 7-year-old or 8-year-old is never gonna sit down and read the entire book. But what I would do, say, oh, Michael, Monica, come here. There's this one really good quote. I want you to know what you think of it, right? And so then I would be inviting them to just reflect on this one quote, and then with that, a couple of different things happened. Well, now they know St. Francis de Sales. Now they know their mom's doing spiritual reading. Now they know that, and so I encourage each of you as mothers to really share your spirituality with your children. Like after today's midday mom session, I would like you at the dinner table to say, hey, you know what? I was listening to Midday Moms and there's this guy, he's actually a plumber, but you know what he's done? He's actually been teaching seminarians about some bishop called, I just can't believe this plumber. And you know what, this Dorothy Pilarski, and when you talk about it naturally with your children and you share with them what you experienced today, I always say that after every single mothers group meeting, as mothers group leaders, we should be encouraging the moms in our mothers group to bring it up at the kitchen table, right? Because sometimes, again, we make the mistake of, making our spirituality, our own, right? And we're missing that opportunity. Anyway, I've got on a rant. I promised myself I wouldn't do that.
No, this was a good rant. I like it. I like it. And I'll add to the rant by just saying, go to bishopsheentoday.com, the website, and there's the 100 videos there. And there's the video on teenagers. There's a video on juvenile delinquency. There's all kinds of good videos there. And, there's something for everyone. So by all means, watch some of his videos, because that's what's brought people in. They watch a video, then they listen to an audio recording, and then they read a book. And so again, he'll draw you closer to Jesus, Mary, the church. And again, he'll have effect on you. As I said before, hundreds of thousands of souls have come to Christ because of Fulton Sheen. So he's done well. And he would always say, he'd say, what I want to hear at the end is when he meets the Lord, he wants to hear these words: "My mother has spoken well of you." And so I hope to hear the same thing. My mother has spoken well of you. So I think we all want to hear that. So anyway, that is great. Dorothy, I wanted to share, of course, just that beautiful poem, Lovely Lady Dressed in Blue. It's a poem that Fulton Sheen recited many times, and I know our time is coming to a close here. It's one of these things, but this is actually in a number of the books that Fulton Sheen wrote, and so I think it's a very beautiful tribute. And so if you would just give me the courtesy to read this, share this poem, I'd like to do that if I could. So it's simply called To Our Lady, and it's a poem penned by Mary Dixon Thayer, Lovely Lady Dressed in Blue. Lovely lady dressed in blue, teach me how to pray. God was just your little boy. Tell me what to say. Did you lift him up sometimes, gently on your knee? Did you sing to him the way mother does to me? Did you hold his hand at night? Did you ever try telling stories of the world? Oh, and did he cry? Do you really think he cares if I tell him things? Little things that happen? And do the angel's wings make a noise? And can he hear me if I speak low? Does he understand me now? Tell me, for you know. Lovely lady dressed in blue, teach me how to pray. God was just your little boy, and you know the way.
Oh, very, very, very beautiful. Just very beautiful. So remind us, Al, just the name of the book that will have that section on motherhood. What is the name of that book again?
It's Archbishop Sheen's Book of Sacraments,
Okay.
and I can show you what it looks like here. This is the manuscript. When you do books, you submit manuscripts, and so this is what it looks like. I think I got it up on the camera there. It's Archbishop Sheen's Book of Sacraments, an anthology, and so that's what you'll look for, and that will be coming out in July. So
Okay, so
yeah.
actually, I think you've sent me the cover, so maybe I'll include it in one of our next emails so that
Yes.
moms can have access to it. So thank you, Alan.
You're welcome.
Just a wonderful, wonderful time. And I'm going to ask everybody here, if you feel called to make a donation to Allan's ministry, the Bishop Sheen Today, or Catholic Moms Group ministry, our ministry depends on your donations. And I'm also going to ask you to, if you could, to pray a rosary for Allan. Allan doesn't talk about it much, but I know because we're friends on Facebook that he's had a lot of health issues, and he carries them with such grace and such fortitude. And I'm just going to be in the thing of tears here because you know, I'm always such a suck when it comes to suffering, and you're such a hero, you know. So your witness truly is edifying. So I would just ask that you pray a rosary for Allan, for his wife, for his family, for each of, like, you don't have to pray a rosary for each and every one of his children and him and his wife, but if you could pray one rosary for all of them. I know that intercessory prayers are very, very powerful. So, you know, think about expressing your gratitude by either making a donation or praying a rosary. You know, Allan needs the donations. We need the donations. We all need the prayers. So don't forget about us. And next week is a holiday, July the 1st. So we will be enjoying that holiday. And if you're interested, again, in winning one of 2 books, I would ask that you send us an email to info@catholicmomsgroup.com, info@catholicmomsgroup.com. And I'll take all of those emails, make sure that Allan sees them, and then Allan will send you, you know, the 2 winners. We'll announce the 2 winners vis-a-vis email. We'll send you one of the 2 books. Okay. So thank you everybody for joining us. We depend on your prayers. We appreciate that you're here. It brings a lot of, you know, love into our hearts that you are here. So thank you. If you're enjoying Allan sessions, you're enjoying this, spread the word, you know, tell everybody about Allan, tell everybody about, you know, Allan's website, our ministry. The Lord needs you to invite souls into this fold too. So I'm going to end as I always do. I'm so glad we had this time together, just to have a laugh and pray a prayer. Seems we just get started, and before you know it, comes a time we have to say so long. Mwah, mwah, mwah. I love each and every one of you. Remember, you're on a divine, sacred mission, and don't sell yourself short. Trust in the intercession of our Blessed Mother and all of the saints, because they're real, and our Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit wants to inspire you for your own personal mission. Anyway, thank you, Allan. Thank you very much. Warmest regards to Isabel, to your family. And I will offer my rosary this evening for your intentions. So thank you very, very, very much. Okay. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.